As we record this, it's Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. If you look around and you see happy people, know that there might be some not so happy behind the scenes, and that's what the show is all about. We're talking about the Kroc Center with Billy Francis and Dan Lawson and the Salvation Army. Next. Well, the heat is on. Let's get cooking. This is Purpose Under Pressure. It's a podcast about people just like you and me, business folks, organizational leaders, people trying to make a difference. We're on purpose. We get up out of bed, we swing our feet out of the bed and put them on the floor and go to work. And then those storms, man, don't they come and try to knock us off of what we're trying to do? And that's what this show is all about. It's Purpose Under Pressure. And if you're back, if you liked the show, if you've seen it, if you've shared it, do it again. Give us a follow, give us a like, give us a subscribe. It's Christmas. It's the season for giving. So go ahead and click on that button that says you like the show. I really do appreciate it. And I'll tell you how it works. People out there will see that someone else liked it and they'll say, well, maybe I'll give it a try too. And if we don't increase the number of people seeing it, we can't change lives. Now, it's working so far. It's working very well. But if you have a chance, give it a like or a subscribe, and we do appreciate your support. Purpose Under Pressure is brought to you by Sandler by the Ruby Group, serving sales professionals nationwide from their Akron and Columbus, Ohio locations, also in Jacksonville, Florida, which sounds really good this time of year. It's sales training, it's business growth. They're doing it right. They're doing it well. They're doing it on purpose, which is one of the reasons they like to partner with me on this show. They are one of the highest performing Sandler sales training affiliates in the nation. And when I say one of the, I mean number 2 out of the hundreds. These guys are the real deal. They know what they're doing. If you just give them a call, you'll appreciate the conversation you have. If you don't buy anything from them, you'll come out better on the other side. So go ahead and reach out and check them out online at Sandler, at the rubygroup.sandler.com. I mentioned Christmas. Now, you might be watching this podcast anytime. It might be 2027. Who knows what it is? But right now it's Christmas time, and we're recording with some people that really make Christmas happen the way it's supposed to happen for people that maybe wouldn't have had the opportunity otherwise. And it's not just about Christmas, but we're going to get all into what is going on at the Kroc Center in Ashland, Ohio. My guest today, Major Billy Francis. He's the administrator and corps officer at the Kroc Center here in town. And also Dan Lawson, Director of Community Relations and Development at the Kroc Center. If you're wondering what is a Kroc Center, you're about to find out. Billy and Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us on.
So good to be here.
Oh, man, so good to see you. Billy, I ran into you at an event recently, and I'm like, holy cow, why haven't I not talked to Billy yet?
Right.
It
was so great.
Purpose. Yeah, you just, both of you and the Kroc Center, that's what Purpose Under Pressure is all about. You're taking care of people who are under significant pressure, and you're doing it on purpose, and I can't believe it took us this long to get together, but I'm glad you're here. Merry Christmas to you both.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I see all the presents behind you. We're going to talk about what you're doing with those. So give me an idea of the Kroc Center. What is the Kroc Center? Why does it exist? What are we trying to do there? Let's help people understand that.
Well, the Kroc Center started, what is this, 16?
Yeah, we're in year 16 now.
Year 16.
Wow.
We were the first here in the East Coast, and there are 26 Kroc Centers around the country. And we were the smallest, one of the 2 smallest. However, after our expansion that we built an indoor water park here, we're now like midway. I would say we're a medium Kroc Center. So we've grown quite a bit in the last 3 years.
And what does the Kroc Center do? Why does it exist? What's it all about?
Well, I would say primarily, first and foremost, all Salvation Armies, anywhere you go in the world, we live under the umbrella of a mission statement, which is to meet human need in Jesus' name without discrimination. And so that's our primary mission. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And we're all about meeting human needs, however that looks, whether it's hunger or emergency assistance or just helping kids have a nice Christmas.
Yeah. And how did the Kroc Center come to be here in Ashland? Was there a greater need here? Was it an opportunity? Can you give a quick background of what pressure we kind of were overcoming to build this place here? It wasn't easy. I remember that.
Oh, of course, it's still trying to figure that out because even our own Mayor Matt Miller, we'll talk about this. When you think about all of the places that Kroc Centers are, usually in urban centers, right, and big cities, And for some reason, the Lord blessed Ashland, Ohio with a Kroc Center. And I was that was well before my time in those conversations. So I'm not sure exactly, only to say that I believe that the Lord had a plan right from the start.
And I remember when being a member of the community, when this opportunity came up, people from all over Ashland really got involved in making sure that we could get our name up for an opportunity to have one here. And then, of course, there were a lot of matching gifts. So, as you know, the Krocs gave the money. Joan Kroc gave the money in her will to
the Krocs from McDonald's, correct?
That's right. The people who built McDonald's. They left the money to build these Kroc centers. It's up to us to operate it, so we have to raise the money each year to operate it. But the community, it had to be a match, and so the community really came together. This Ashland community is responsible for getting this Kroc Center here because they raised something like $8 million.
They raised $8 million, and I'm interested. There's a lot of charitable opportunity in Ashland. There's a lot of need in Ashland, but there's a lot of people that get behind making things right. I had Stacy from the United Way on the show, and we talked about how much giving there really is. Is it ever hard to separate yourself from other opportunities so that people remember to give to you too? Is there always enough to go around?
Oh, well, yeah, I believe we don't operate from a scarcity mentality. We believe that God, we don't have to worry about getting our share of the pie. God spreads it around, and there is enough to go around. And we work very closely with all the other charities in town. We refer people back and forth to each other all the time. So we work closely with them. But by the same token, a lot of what we do kind of does distinguish us from the other charities. We do some gateway programs for kids. We do some special things that some of the other charities aren't doing. And so there is a lot of need, and we're all working together to meet that need.
What's the hardest thing about operating a facility like this? Is it maintenance and keeping it up? Is it keeping it open? Is it staffing? What's the hardest thing to overcome to make it happen for folks?
Well, right. Yeah. Because we're a not-for-profit, we have to raise the budget every year. And charitable giving is about 1/3 of our budget. The other parts of it come from the membership sales, and we call it membership with a purpose because the membership fee that you pay to come to the Kroc Center helps provide for the food pantry. It helps provide for social services. It helps provide for operations. I heard at one time, and I'm not sure if this is still accurate, but it costs about $75 an hour for every hour this building is in operation.
Wow.
And so that adds up really, really fast. And so there's a lot of pressure to get that money in the door.
The people that you serve, and you mentioned without discrimination, that means anybody can be a part of what you're doing at the Kroc Center. Who's the typical people that you help, and what are the experiences that they have? And when I say that, I mean, how are you making life better for people that come into the Kroc Center? Give people an idea of what they're experiencing there.
Sure. Well, we're a little unique in this too, in terms of the Kroc Centers, in that we have a very robust social service program. So our annex, which we call the annex, it's right across the way here from the Kroc Center. It's a building that we give out food and produce every day. Every day we're serving people that are in need. And I would say it's a really wonderful thing. It's a heartwarming thing to see when people come every day to fill up their cars with food. And, certainly our social service workers here are amazing. So if they're homeless, if there are people that are just in need, they come here every day too, and they're being serviced.
Yeah. And we have a lot of people that are living on welfare and very, very tight budget. But we also have a passion for those people that I say fall between the cracks. Yeah. You know what I mean? So they're working hard, but they're not making enough money. And so they kind of fall into that gray area where they don't get welfare, they don't get support from the government like that, and they don't want it because they're committed to working, but yet their paycheck doesn't last long enough. So we want to come in and help fill in the gap for those people too.
Can you give an example of a story or a person that you've helped? Can you give me a story so that people can understand the life-changing impact of this, where maybe someone came to you, didn't realize this was a service, didn't realize it was for them, but afterwards their life was different? Is there a story you can help to relate this with folks?
Tell them about last Christmas.
Oh, well, that was actually, it was So, great
Last Christmas
story.
is a song by Wham. You're not going to
That
start
is,
singing that, are you,
that's
Bill?
George Michael, right?
Yeah.
Last Christmas. So, just to give you an example, and Christmas is always very busy for us, even right now. Like you see some toys in the back here, you should go over in the field house and see. Everybody, it's all hands on deck with a wonderful 80 plus staff. But last Christmas, actually, something very special happened. And it was Christmas Eve. And you can imagine how tired all of us are. But we had our Christmas Eve service here. We are church and we have Sunday services here, and we had a wonderful Christmas Eve service. And right before the service, we found out that we missed a child. And
You missed the
the
child.
list is so big, but we just missed one. And so right at the end of service, I think it was 8:30 at night. Um, the child wanted a bicycle. I can remember this vividly, and some other toys. So after the service, even though we were all tired and ready to get home to our own families after a very busy Christmas season, one of the employees here and her husband and we loaded up some Christmas toys and we just went to their house. And the mom answered the door, and it was just one of those moments, even gets me a little bit right now, thinking back on that, just what a perfect cherry on the top to end that Christmas. But that just shows, purpose under pressure, right? Like we are all the way to the end. We're going to make sure every child will have a Christmas toy under that tree. And that's our goal at Christmas.
Hearing that story gives me the chills. What was it? You were there, Billy? What was it like to be there? How did that make you feel?
Well, it's interesting that we see this all the time. So just to answer your question, yeah, of course it was heartwarming, and of course we get teary. But we just celebrated. We've been doing this now for about 6 years. This is our 6th year doing it. When we arrived here in Ashland, I got to meet the Head Start teacher. We have about 80 children, part of our Head Start program. And I found out they were giving little gifts. They had a little tiny party. So I said to the teacher, hey, why don't we invite the state troopers and invite some other groups? And it has evolved now into this wonderful time. Talk about heartwarming. Just happened 2 nights ago. And we had about 250 people here. All of Ashland County Head Start kids were serviced. The wonderful Ohio State troopers collected toys during that time. And I got to tell you, the tears were coming on everybody there. It was just such a beautiful, beautiful moment to see these children, especially these children, and the need being met there. And of course, our great Santa Claus showed up to that event too.
Yeah.
Can't this out Santa Claus. So yeah, it's always heartwarming.
What's it like? What's the process to deliver those gifts? And that's got to be impossible. There's so much.
Brian, it is flexibility, because with this staff here, it just happened this morning. We had a company call. We said they had angel trees, and some staff gets sick and some this happens, that happens. Guess what? The staff all comes together. It doesn't matter if they're a lifeguard, if they're working in the welcome center. We all come together, and we just got all of our vehicles together and drove over to the company, filled it up, and that just goes on here all the time. So I just have to say thank you to this amazing staff. They're just ready to go.
And we accomplish a lot through volunteers. We have a very robust group of volunteers, and the whole week of the 16th, we'll be sorting toys and getting them ready for families to come by and pick up. And so they can come by and pick up their toys, so every kid gets to have a toy for Christmas.
It's tremendous. What keeps you up at night? And let's not talk about funding as much, but let's go ahead and say it. We always need funding. We know that's the thing that's going to pay the bills, and we need people's help. And we'll put a link on here on the podcast if people want to get involved and things of that sort. But operationally, or maybe relationally, personally, what keeps you up at night making sure that you're successful with the Kroc Center and what your mission is there?
Well, and his story was part of that. Is we don't want anyone to be missed. We don't want anyone to be overlooked. And if people think, Ashland doesn't have a homeless problem, or we don't see that kind of thing, because I describe them as the invisible people. They're not the ones standing out there saying, help me, help me. They're the ones that they're still proud, but yet they're struggling to get by. And we want them to know that this is a place they can come. This is a place where they can get help, and we can be there for them.
And I think one of the issues is, and tell me if I'm wrong, but one of the issues is that the gap between the well-off and the less is becoming wider, and people who used to be right there in the middle doing just fine are starting to trend towards those who need help. It's not so much that they might not even realize that some of these services, the Kroc Center is for them. It is for all, but it really is for them. And things have changed so much, they don't even know. How do you get that word out? How do you find these folks? How do you get it to be less of a stigma that maybe they can ask for the help and you can really do what you're trying to do?
Everyone in the organization needs to know how to sell. Sales is the strength of any company. Whether or not you're in marketing, operations, or even finance, everyone has a strong shared accountability towards driving top-line revenue. Whether or not you're client-facing or talking over the phone, you're able to build a stronger level of rapport with the clients. Everyone in the organization shares that responsibility to know how to sell.
How do you get it to be less of a stigma that maybe they can ask for the help and you can really do what you're trying to do?
Right. So most of it is word of mouth. And people will come and say, my friend told me about this, or I heard about this from a group of people. So a lot of it is word of mouth to find out that they can come here. And sometimes they come in the door here and they say, we had no idea the amount of programming that you do and the number of things that you have here. We didn't know this was available. So getting it out there through things like this podcast and some other marketing things that we do, getting the word out there that we're here to help meet those needs, but also to people then to come and be a member of the Kroc Center, buy that membership because that membership fee helps pay for these things. Come and donate to the Kroc Center, volunteer your time at the Kroc Center because that helps serve all those other needs as well.
It's where that and we face this challenge here, being part of the Salvation Army, but I'm very careful in our posts to put up the Ashland Kroc Center Salvation Army, because it is sewn into the fabric of every Salvationist wearing a uniform. You know, since its inception, William Booth, in his book he wrote, In Darkest England and the Way Out, was concerned with what he called, you said the invisible people, he said the submerged tenth. You had the poor, but then even below that, you had those that were the invisible ones. And who was helping those? So sewn into the fabric of these Kroc Centers all over the country is the fact that we are actually the Salvation Army. And hopefully that name recognition will know that people, they can always show up at the Salvation Army. And we'll always be serviced here.
We
Is there ever an issue?
Benchmark.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
We kind of set a benchmark at 200% of the poverty level, the national poverty level. So the government has, 18,000 or something like that as poverty level. Yeah. We set a benchmark at double that, 200% of that.
You have to.
So if you fall under that level, we're here to help you. And as you mentioned, more and more people are starting to fall under that level.
So that level is 18,000 and double that level is 36,000. At least that's what they taught me 40 years ago in school. That doesn't buy groceries anymore. Not like, honestly, I don't know how do you, that's not going to get any better. Is it always, what do you do to make sure that you're reaching more and more and more people? Like, what are the efforts? I'm interested in how you market and how you find. I'm interested also in those little red kettles that infects you as well. Oh, yeah. The ones that almost we walk by because we've seen them every single year forever. I'm guilty of that. I don't carry cash around. Like, how do you get the word out about the Salvation Army so that people will take advantage of that?
I don't know if you've seen it. There's a great commercial that the National Salvation Army has right now that is playing. I just saw it played again this morning. It's called Silent Night. And it's a mother and her little girl are coming home, and she's got a baby in her arms, and the little girl says, "Mommy, why is all of our stuff out on the street?" And there's an eviction notice on the door. She had fallen behind on the rent.
Yeah.
So it shows her in the car. She's in a restaurant trying to get some food for the kids, and she's pushing her food across to them. And she's got a baby that's crying. She parks in a parking lot to get a little sleep, and the police come and rap on the door, say, "You can't stay here." She goes into another parking lot, and she begins crying. And then she looks up, and they're just setting up one of the red kettles, the Salvation Army. And the end of that commercial, it shows them, and they're playing the song Silent Night, "Sleep in heavenly peace." And the mother and the babies are taken into a shelter, and they're given a bed, and they're able to sleep in heavenly peace because the Salvation Army is here to help.
That's tremendous. Yeah. And so talk to me about help. I'm really interested in all those presents. I'm interested in all the toys. What's going to happen now? So it's, as we record this, we're about 7, 8, 10 days from Christmas.
Yeah.
And this is going to air the day before Christmas, on Christmas Eve. What's going on between then and what's happening on Christmas Eve that's just going to be magical here in Ashland?
Well, I mean, now is when it starts. You'll notice all those angel tags at Walmart too, and we have them. There's still a bunch of them out there, and we make sure to service every angel tag. So I know that question came up the other day. What do you do with all the extras? Well, we have toys put aside, and we make sure that every one of those tags, that child gets those gifts. So hopefully that will answer that question. But this week, and we'll just keep going out and picking up toys and picking up angels from companies. Then we have a wonderful team led by our social service director here. And we will meet next week in the field house. And, Brian, I want to invite you. You should come over and just see it.
Yeah.
Because it's something to witness with your own eyes. It is a sea of bags. I mean, all of the angels put into bags, and the whole field house is full. And then people will drive up one at a time, and our staff, our amazing staff, will be there just divvying it out like candy. And there is nothing like it. You see the faces and the stories, and it's so beautiful.
And that's where our volunteers really help out a lot. Because as he said, in our field house, it's filled end to end and wall to wall with toys. And so they take the tag and it says, "Johnny wants a fire truck." They go find that fire truck and they put it in a bag with Johnny's name on it. Wow. We don't wrap them because we let the parents do that. And then it sits by the door and the parents come by. We give them the bag. "Here's Johnny's fire truck," whatever. We make sure that Johnny doesn't hear that. But it's that kind of thing. And that's where a lot of our volunteers come in to help.
God bless you. The people that work there, the people that volunteer there, are they just looking to make a difference, or are their hearts as deep and as full as yours are for the mission?
It's both. We have some that say, "You were there for me, and now I'm here for you. You helped me back when, and so I want to come and give back." Kind of.
Really?
And some that are just kind of paying it forward.
Really? How often does that happen?
Oh, well, it happens all the time.
Is that right?
I mean, when you think about, it's not even just at Christmas, but, so many times, and even now, I'll hear the Salvation Army was there during World War II. Like, you'll find the old guys that'll say that. And, "Thank you so much for all that you did for me. Now I want to do for you." So that's been going on for so many years. There's not many World War II vets left. But back 10 years ago, I used to hear that all the time. See an old guy walk up, "Thank you, Salvation Army." The uniform is so recognizable. And we haven't changed. We're still the same.
Tremendous. Yeah. Let's talk about next year. Let's talk about the purpose continues. The pressures will continue. What are some hurdles that you think you're going to have to overcome to make things stay on point and on purpose and on mission in 2025? What are some things that maybe have your guard up a little bit?
One of the things that always happens with any charitable organization is as inflation increases, needs go up, but inflation causes donations to go down.
Yep.
So you have rising need and lower donations. And that's the thing that I'm always praying about. Lord, help us to find those people who can come along with us and partner with us, because as needs go up, according to inflation, needs go up. and donations tend to go down because the money's a little bit tighter. And so that's the thing that we'll be facing this year and every year.
And from now on, and maybe all the times past, and it's a blessing that you've been able to keep things going, because that's always the issue. I'm a deacon at a church, and it's always, we don't plan for people to give more because we know they have to spend more. They know they have and yet everything costs so much more. And so I understand what you're talking about there. I think people listening to will understand that as well. And if they did want to participate, if they did want to help you donate to the Salvation Army, to the Kroc Center, or even just learn more about the things that you're doing here in Ashland and ways that maybe they can impact their communities, because we have listeners all over. How would they get in touch with you and impact what you're doing right now at the Kroc Center?
Our website is ashlandkroc.org. That's our website. And of course, they can always call here. Our phone number is 419-281-8001. 419-281-8001. They can always call here, ashlandkroc.org. And you'll see there's an email address on that website if they want to send us an email to get more information.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. Billy and Dan, I have one final question. All the gifts are given out. All the kids are waking up on Christmas morning, and you were there to be a part of that. You helped to make that happen. What's life like for you on December 26th? I'm interested in what happens in your world when all of a sudden the chaos is yesterday, tomorrow is coming. Do you rest? Do you relax? Or do you just charge out there, do it again?
Well, of course, I'm going to be with my family. I mean, there's December 25th, December 26th. But again, it doesn't really stop here. How long? We're not even. So we get right back into. We do, of course, take time to be with our own families and a few days. But then we're right back at it again, and we have so many exciting things coming right around the corner that we don't really have time to. Little bit of time.
Yep, we'll be back in managing year-end donations. Year-end giving is a big thing.
Yeah.
So people can get that gift in before the end of the year, take it on their taxes or whatever. So we'll be back in managing that too.
Now, if I can just say too, put a little plug in. We do have our since this is going to air Christmas Eve, hopefully, maybe, I don't know. So we do have our wonderful Music Man that's being performed at the Ashland Theater, January 17th, 18th, and 19th. So, if this is airing early enough, I would love for you to come see our 55 young people and perform that.
Tremendous. I'm glad you got that plug in, because
I got that plug in.
Thought about that. Well done. Well done. Folks, if you're listening right now, if you're an organizational leader, if you're a business, if you're just a person walking around and trying to do the next best thing, whether you're in Ashland or you're anywhere in this country or in this world, know that there are angels who walk the earth, that there are people who need, and there are people like Billy and Dan here that are trying to serve that need, and find them, seek them out, figure out how you can help them do what they're doing, because it matters. It's not just about profit. And you and I both know this. All of us, we know this. It's not about how much we make. It's right. How good we do. And doing the next right thing is really what matters in business and in life and in helping people. And Billy and Dan, you guys are doing that. And if you're out there listening, if you're looking for one more way to add some purpose to your year, you do it too. Find someone to help, and find someone to help someone else to help. It doesn't matter, but take the next right step. And that's what you're doing, Dan and Billy. And thank you for doing it. And thank you for being a guest here on Purpose Under Pressure.
Thank you for having us.
Merry Christmas to both of you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Christmas.
That's Billy Francis, and that is Dan Lawson, and they are with the Kroc Center here in Ashland, Ohio. They're making a difference on Christmas and every day in between. They'll be doing it all the time, and like I said, you should be too. I think that's all we can ever hope to do in our lives, is help someone else. They are our guests on Purpose Under Pressure. I'm so glad they were. This show is brought to you by Sandler by the Ruby Group. Sellers under pressure to perform, and so Sandler helps you to succeed on purpose. You'll find all past episodes of Purpose Under Pressure at brianmediastrategies.com/podcast and wherever you stream your favorite shows. We do this every week, and we will see you next time. Merry Christmas on Purpose.